What if the one thing you thought was keeping you healthy is actually what's putting you at risk? What if the fruit in your bowl, the one you've always trusted, could raise your chance of a stroke overnight quietly, without pain, without warning? This isn't about scare tactics. It's about truth. It's about elderly wisdom. Dr. Henry Caldwell, a seasoned neurologist who has spent over 3 decades studying the aging brain, shares what he's learned the hard way. Some fruits eaten the wrong way, at the wrong time, or in the wrong quantity can quietly disrupt your system, especially after 60. Let's start with bananas. Soft, sweet, convenient. Marketed for heart health and loaded with potassium, they seem like the perfect snack. But once you pass a certain age, your kidneys slow down. They don't filter potassium like they used to. If you're also taking blood pressure medication or diuretics, the potassium from just one large banana can begin to accumulate. It sounds harmless until it isn't. Elevated potassium levels can make your heart misfire, constrict your blood vessels, and trigger clots. That travels silently through your bloodstream. When one of those clots hits your brain, it can shut everything down in a heartbeat. That's exactly what happened to Mr. Frank Delaney, 66, a retired woodworker from Illinois. His morning routine was always the same: oatmeal with banana slices, orange juice, and his usual heart pills. It had been that way for over a year. But one morning, his wife found him collapsed in the bathroom, unable to speak. The stroke was small, but the damage was real, and it all pointed back to a combination of high potassium and slowed kidney function. This is where elderly diet advice must evolve. Your body after 60 isn't broken, but it is different. The foods you once embraced may now need careful reconsideration. If you're over 60 and take medications for your heart, kidneys, or blood pressure, limit bananas to half a serving and only in the morning. Never pair them with juice or eat them before bed. Always combine with protein, like a handful of nuts or a spoonful of Greek yogurt to help your body absorb them more gently. These adjustments are part of a healthy aging diet, built not just on what you eat, but how and when you eat it. Because for seniors, stroke risk doesn't always come from the obvious culprits. It hides in what we assume is safe. It lives in our routines. And as Dr. Caldwell often says, the key to senior stroke prevention isn't fear, it's awareness, timing, and respect for how the aging body works. Keep watching, because what you learn next might forever change the way you look at fruit. Sweetness that stings. The hidden risk of grapes. There's a moment in every caregiver's life, or in every senior's journey, when a truth quietly sinks in, that what was once nourishing can, with time, become a silent threat. This is that moment for grapes. They look so innocent, round, juicy, a symbol of vitality. You pop a few in your mouth without thinking, and for years, that's been okay. But as Dr. Henry Caldwell reminds us, with aging comes change, and what once refreshed your body may now quietly burden it. Grapes are, at their core, a sugar bomb wrapped in a thin skin. A small handful can unleash a surge of glucose and fructose into your bloodstream. For a healthy young person, the body absorbs that sugar and keeps going. But for someone over 60, especially with a slowing insulin response or fragile blood vessels, that surge can set off a storm. Here's why. Your blood vessels, particularly those in the brain, grow more delicate with age. When sugar spikes rapidly, it inflames the thin linings of those vessels. Microtears begin to form. Your body, trying to protect you, sends clotting agents to seal the damage. And in those moments, a clot can form quietly with no warning at all. Let me tell you about Mrs. Bernadette Klein, 80, a retired librarian from Oregon. She was the picture of senior heart health. No sodas, no processed snacks. Her morning ritual was a bowl of fresh red grapes and black coffee while reading the newspaper. But one morning, her daughter noticed her handwriting looked shaky. Her memory seemed just slightly off. By that afternoon, she was struggling to find words. The hospital confirmed it, a transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke. Her lab showed a midday blood sugar spike, inflammation markers, and elevated A1C levels creeping toward pre-diabetic range. But the most revealing sign? Chronic low-grade inflammation in her cerebral blood vessels. And her grapes? They weren't the villain, but they weren't helping either. This is the delicate line we walk with aging. It's not about banning fruit. It's about learning which ones, when, and how. For brain health seniors, here's what matters. Never eat grapes on an empty stomach. Never by the handful. And especially not at night when blood circulation slows and your body is least able to handle sugar spikes. Instead, pair a few grapes with almonds or a slice of cheese something to stabilize the sugar release. And always drink water. This is elderly wisdom. Knowing that timing, portion, and pairing matter just as much as the food itself. Because in this season of life, you're not just eating for taste. You're eating for balance, for memory, for clarity. You're eating to stay sharp. And as Dr. Caldwell often says, nothing is small when it comes to the aging brain, not even a grape. Are you ready for the next fruit that hides a sharper edge than you might expect? Let's keep going. Pineapple at night, a tropical threat to the aging brain. There's something deceptive about pineapple. It arrives like a gift from the tropics, vibrant, sweet, refreshing. Seniors often turn to it as a healthy dessert. A few golden slices after dinner. A reward for a clean day. But as Dr. Henry Caldwell has discovered, for those over 60, this fruit may carry risks that linger long after the sweetness fades. Pineapple contains a powerful enzyme called bromelain. In small amounts, it helps with digestion. But in aging bodies, especially when taken alongside medications that affect blood clotting, bromelain becomes a wild card. It can interfere with platelet function, making it harder for your blood to form clots when needed, or paradoxically triggering clot formation in places it shouldn't. This is no small matter. For seniors focused on senior stroke prevention and senior heart health, even a subtle change in clotting balance can mean the difference between a peaceful night's sleep and waking up in an emergency room. Now add in the sugar. A single cup of pineapple delivers over 16 grams of natural sugar. And unlike fiber-rich fruits, pineapple releases that sugar fast, flooding your bloodstream, especially when eaten alone. And let's not forget its high acid content. Pineapple is one of the most acidic fruits on the market. It irritates the esophagus and can trigger a silent form of reflux, especially dangerous at night. Let me share the story of Ms. Ruth Ellen Granger, 77, a retired choir director from South Carolina. She was disciplined about her health. Ate clean. Avoided processed foods. Replaced cookies with pineapple slices after dinner. It was her nightly comfort. For over a year, that was her routine until one morning. She woke up foggy, disoriented, her speech slow and slurred. The scans told the truth. A small stroke had struck overnight. Her labs revealed elevated glucose levels, signs of nighttime reflux, and abnormalities in platelet activity. A combination of sugar, acid, and enzyme overload had triggered a dangerous imbalance. All from a fruit she believed was helping her. That's the lesson Dr. Caldwell wants every older adult to understand. Even something as beautiful as a slice of pineapple, if eaten at the wrong time, can quietly work against your brain health. If you love pineapple, you don't have to give it up. But embrace elderly diet advice with clarity. Eat it early in the day, never before bed. Always pair it with a source of fat or protein. And never mix it with blood-thinning medications unless you've spoken with your physician. Aging doesn't mean Fragility, it means complexity. The systems inside you now function differently than they did decades ago. What once energized you can now destabilize you. And the quiet night, when your body is supposed to rest, becomes the time of greatest vulnerability. That's why healthy, aging diet choices aren't about restriction. They're about rhythm. About understanding that your brain listens to every bite. And when you give it calm, balanced nourishment, it rewards you with clarity, energy, and presence. Are you ready for the next fruit that promises hydration but may actually dry you out from within? Let's move forward. Watermelon, the illusion of hydration and the risk it hides. It's hard to resist a chilled slice of watermelon on a hot day. It's refreshing, sweet, and almost 90% water. For seniors, it seems like the perfect summer treat, a simple way to stay hydrated, satisfied, and cool. But Dr. Henry Caldwell has a different perspective. One grounded in years of treating patients who thought they were doing everything right, only to end up in his exam room with symptoms they never saw coming. Here's what most people don't realize. Watermelon may seem hydrating, but in the aging body, it can quietly create the opposite effect. Especially when consumed in the evening, watermelon acts as a natural diuretic. It makes you urinate more great if you're young and resilient. But for someone over 60, especially someone already taking diuretics for heart conditions or blood pressure, that added fluid loss becomes dangerous. The body begins to shed more water than it retains. And what follows? Dehydration, thickened blood, sluggish circulation. The perfect setup for a clot. Dr. Caldwell tells the story of Mr. Harold Jennings, 82, a retired teacher from Kansas. Every night after dinner, he would eat several large slices of watermelon. It made him feel light, refreshed, even virtuous. What he didn't know was that his medication, combined with the fruit's natural diuretic effect, was draining his system of hydration overnight. One morning, Harold tried to get out of bed and collapsed. Dizzy, confused, his blood pressure had plummeted. His blood had thickened, and a small clot had lodged in a narrow artery in his brain. He had suffered a minor stroke. His balance would never fully return. This is the part of elderly wisdom most people miss. Hydration isn't just about water content. It's about balance, electrolytes, timing, context. For brain health seniors and anyone concerned with stroke risk seniors face, this is a vital realization. Watermelon, eaten late in the day, especially after medication, can become a subtle trigger. Not immediately, but slowly, night after night. It pulls fluid from your body and leaves your blood thick and slow, just when your brain needs flow. So how do you enjoy watermelon safely? Eat it earlier in the day, when your body is still active. Pair it with a pinch of salt or sip coconut water alongside it to maintain electrolyte balance. If you're on diuretics, talk to your doctor before making it a daily habit. Healthy aging diet choices aren't about removing joy. They're about awareness. Because even a fruit that's 90% water can become one of the most dangerous foods seniors regularly eat if misunderstood. And when it comes to elderly diet advice, one truth remains. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat. It's what your body is already managing, and whether you're listening closely to the quiet signals of change. Let's keep moving, because the next fruit we need to talk about is one that's practically been marketed as the face of health yet, maybe quietly interfering with your medications and pushing your body out of balance. Orange juice and the silent interference with your medications. For decades, orange juice has been a staple of the American breakfast. A tall glass of sunshine, a symbol of health. But what if that bright citrusy ritual is silently disrupting the very medications keeping your heart and brain in balance? Dr. Henry Caldwell has seen it too many times. Seniors doing everything they were told, eating right, taking their prescriptions on time, staying active, and still winding up in his office with slurred speech, dizziness, or the aftermath of a small stroke. What they didn't know is that oranges, and especially orange juice, carry a compound called phyronocoumarin, a natural chemical that alters how your liver processes medications. You see, the liver plays a central role in filtering what enters your bloodstream. But phyronocoumarin can block key enzymes in that system. It's like shutting down the brakes on a slow-moving train. Medications that are meant to be broken down gradually begin to build up. The result? Your blood pressure can dip too low. Your statin drugs can become toxic. Your blood can turn unstable. Let me tell you about Mr. Leonard Evans, 79, a retired mechanic from Colorado. Leonard prided himself on taking care of himself. Every morning, he took his blood pressure pills and cholesterol medication with a full glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. He called it his power combo. But what he didn't know was that the phyronocoumarin in that juice was slowing his liver's ability to process both drugs. Over weeks, the levels of medication in his bloodstream climbed higher than they should. One morning, he stood up from his recliner and collapsed. His wife found him dazed and struggling to speak. A CT scan later revealed a mild ischemic stroke. The culprit wasn't an overdose. It was an accumulation, one that came silently, one glass at a time. This is where elderly wisdom comes into play. Aging changes everything. What your body tolerated at 40 may no longer be safe at 70. And when it comes to stroke risks seniors face, seemingly harmless habits like orange juice at breakfast can create slow, dangerous shifts beneath the surface. Here's what Dr. Caldwell advises now. If you enjoy citrus, go easy. Choose lower-risk options like clementines. If you drink juice, make it a splash in water, not a full glass. And never pair citrus with your medications unless your physician gives you the green light. Especially if you're taking statins, calcium channel blockers, or blood pressure meds. This isn't about avoiding fruit. It's about applying the kind of senior heart health knowledge that could save your life. The kind that protects not just your physical body, but your independence, your clarity, and your sense of self. Because when blood chemistry becomes unpredictable, so does your health. And all it takes is one tiny clot at the wrong moment to alter everything. The truth is, oranges aren't the only fruit that come with this kind of risk. There are more. Ones you may eat every day without ever suspecting what they're really doing to your brain, your circulation, or your medications. Let's keep going. The next fruit is one that's likely sitting in your fruit bowl right now, an American icon believed to keep the doctor away. But for seniors, it may do the opposite. The apple myth. When healthy becomes harmful. We've all heard the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But what if, after 60, that apple isn't keeping you well? It's quietly making things worse. Apples are deeply woven into our sense of health. They're packed in lunchboxes, served in hospitals, handed to grandchildren as a symbol of love and care. But as Dr. Henry Caldwell gently warns, for the aging body, especially one managing blood sugar, blood pressure, or cognitive decline, the wrong kind of apple, eaten the wrong way, can shift from helpful to harmful. Let's look at the facts. Many of the most popular apple varieties in America today, Fuji, Honeycrisp, Gala, have been bred for sweetness, not nutrition. They're beautiful, juicy, crisp, but they're also loaded with natural sugars that absorb quickly into your bloodstream. If you're over 60, your body no longer handles sugar the way it used to. Your insulin response is slower. Your blood vessels are more fragile. And when you eat a high glycemic fruit like a sweet apple, especially alone or on an empty stomach, you get a rapid sugar spike followed by a sharp crash. That's not just a dip in energy. It's a fluctuation that tightens blood vessels, thickens the blood, and increases inflammation inside your arteries. Dr. Caldwell shares the story of Mrs. Irene Holloway, 81, a former nurse from Ohio. She had always lived a careful, thoughtful life. Walked every morning, took her medications faithfully, and every afternoon she'd eat one large Honeycrisp apple, her little indulgence. But what she didn't realize was that over time, that daily apple was quietly triggering blood sugar surges that her aging body couldn't keep up with. One evening, while preparing dinner, Irene felt a strange pressure in her head. Moments later, she couldn't speak. A mild stroke had formed, likely the result of vascular stress from repeated glucose spikes. Her lab showed signs of insulin resistance and vessel inflammation. The apple was never the sole cause, but it was part of a larger pattern she had never questioned. This is the kind of elderly wisdom that saves lives, not by scaring, but by revealing. So what's the lesson here for senior stroke prevention and a healthy aging diet? Not all apples are created equal. Choose Granny Smith if you love apples. They're lower in sugar and higher in brain protective compounds called flavonoids. And never eat them alone. Pair them with protein or fat, a slice of cheese, a spoon of nut butter to blunt the sugar spike and protect your blood vessels. Because your brain doesn't need roller coasters. It needs stable fuel, steady support, gentle choices. This is what elderly diet advice truly looks like. Not fear, not restriction, but the quiet, powerful decision to adapt, to give your body what it actually needs in this stage of life. And if apples surprised you, you may be wondering, what about fruits that have been praised for heart health, inflammation relief, and antioxidants? Let's move forward. The next fruit may be small and sweet, but for those on blood thinners, it can bring a risk that's far from gentle. Cherries, a sweet fruit that thins more than just blood. Cherries are often called nature's candy. They're vibrant, full of flavor, and praised in health magazines for their anti-inflammatory benefits. For seniors, they seem like a perfect addition to a brain-healthy diet. But behind their beauty lies something unexpected, a natural chemical that may thin your blood too much. Dr. Henry Caldwell has spent years studying how everyday foods interact with the aging body. He knows that what helps one person heal can send another spiraling into danger, especially when medications are part of the picture. And cherries, despite their wholesome image, can create the perfect storm for seniors already managing blood health. You see, cherries contain salicylates, a natural compound similar to aspirin. In moderate amounts, this can be beneficial. But if you're already taking blood thinners, even small amounts of additional salicylates from food can tip the scale. Suddenly, your blood becomes too thin. Your vessels grow vulnerable. And if one of those vessels happens to be in the brain, the outcome can be devastating. Dr. Caldwell recalls the case of Mr. Samuel Richland, 84, a retired train conductor from Wisconsin. He had been placed on a daily low-dose aspirin and blood pressure medication after a mild heart episode. Determined to stay active for his great-grandchildren, he began ending his dinners with a small bowl of dark cherries, believing they were a natural anti-inflammatory. For a while, things seemed fine, until the morning he woke up vomiting, dizzy, and unable to speak clearly. A CT scan revealed the worst, a hemorrhagic stroke or brain bleed. His medication levels were normal. His blood pressure was stable. But his blood had thinned too much slowly, silently over time. The additional salicylates from his daily cherries had pushed his system beyond its limit. The very fruit he believed was helping him had become a hidden risk. This is the fragile balance of senior heart health and stroke risk seniors often underestimate. Your body, your medications, and even your snacks all interact in ways that can either protect or endanger you. So what can you do if you enjoy cherries? Here's the wisdom. Eat them sparingly. A few here and there are likely safe, but avoid cherry concentrates, juices, or large daily portions. If you're on blood thinners, aspirin, or any medication that affects clotting, talk to your doctor before making cherries a regular part of your diet. And always pay attention to new symptoms: dizziness, bruising, fatigue. They're not just getting older. They could be whispers of imbalance. The lesson here isn't that cherries are dangerous for everyone. It's that in the context of elderly wisdom, the most important ingredient in your diet is understanding. Because even something as small and sweet as a cherry can over time become one of the most dangerous foods seniors regularly consume, simply because no one warned them what to watch for. Are you beginning to see the pattern? Let's continue, because next, we'll look at a fruit that appears on hospital trays, smoothie menus, and senior brunch tables across the country, but may be delivering more toxins to the brain than you ever imagined. Strawberries. When fresh turns toxic for the aging brain, strawberries are the picture of innocence. Heart-shaped, bright red, a perfect mix of sweet and tart. They're everywhere in smoothies labeled as brain boosters, on breakfast trays in hospitals, in retirement homes served after light meals. But Dr. Henry Caldwell has a message for those over 60. When it comes to strawberries, what you don't see may harm you more than what you do. These berries rank among the most heavily sprayed fruits in agriculture today. Year after year, they sit at the top of the Environmental Working Group's 30 dozen list for pesticide contamination. Even after washing, residue remains. And for seniors whose detoxification systems have slowed with age, those residues don't just pass through. They accumulate. Over time, these neurotoxic chemicals build up in tissues, including the brain. They don't cause sharp pain. They don't cause fevers or rashes. They operate silently, quietly damaging neurons, quietly weakening the lining of small cerebral vessels. And in combination with vascular inflammation, the very presence of these toxins can increase your risk of stroke, memory loss, and neurological decline. Dr. Caldwell often recalls Mrs. Elaine McCord, 80, a retired piano teacher from Vermont. She loved her strawberries, picked them fresh every summer, froze them for the winter, added them to smoothies, ate them after lunch, and believed, rightfully so, that she was caring for her body. But she also had mild hypertension, occasional joint pain, and was on a water pill. Over time, Elaine began noticing morning dizziness, then joint swelling that wouldn't resolve. One morning, her right hand went numb, her speech slurred. A CT scan confirmed a minor ischemic stroke. Her blood work revealed high uric acid, low-grade inflammation, and signs of oxidative stress consistent with exposure to neurotoxins and purines. The source? Her daily strawberry habit. Here's what many don't realize. In addition to pesticide residue, strawberries contain purines compounds that break down into uric acid. In younger, more resilient bodies, that's not a problem. But in seniors, with reduced kidney function or vascular vulnerability, elevated uric acid can trigger inflammation, raise blood pressure, and contribute to clot formation. So what's the elderly diet advice here? If you eat strawberries, make sure they are certified organic every single time. Wash them thoroughly. Don't make them a daily ritual. And if you have a history of gout, kidney disease, or taking blood pressure medications, ask your doctor before incorporating them into your routine. And be especially cautious with frozen strawberries used in pre-made smoothies. They're often sourced from bulk crops grown overseas, where pesticide regulations are far more lenient. This isn't fear. It's clarity. It's elderly wisdom at work, because even fruits that look like medicine, like strawberries, can, under the wrong conditions, turn into dangerous foods seniors never think to question. You deserve food that heals, not harms. Choices that energize your brain and strengthen your future. And while strawberries aren't off the table forever, they must be approached with care, with knowledge, And with a deep respect for how your body has changed now, let's take one final look at a fruit that feels exotic and indulgent, often promoted as heart-healthy and energy-boosting. But for seniors, it may be the most deceptive of them all. Mango, the tropical trap for seniors on medication. Mango is seductive. Its soft flesh, rich color, and honeyed sweetness make it feel like nature's reward. For many seniors, it's seen as a smart dessert, a better choice than cookies or cakes. But Dr. Henry Caldwell cautions that beneath that golden glow lies a hidden risk, especially for older adults managing blood sugar, blood pressure, or heart medications. Here's the truth. Mango is one of the highest sugar fruits consumed in America. Just 1 cup contains nearly 45 grams of natural sugar, more than a donut. And that sugar doesn't just taste sweet. It floods your bloodstream rapidly, spiking glucose levels and triggering insulin surges that the aging body struggles to handle. This is dangerous on its own, but it gets worse. Mango contains compounds that interfere with the cytochrome P450 enzyme system in your liver, the very system responsible for metabolizing many common prescription medications. When this system slows, drugs don't get cleared properly. They linger, they build up, they intensify, and suddenly, your normal dosage becomes a risk. This is especially true for medications that regulate heart rhythm, blood pressure, and cholesterol drugs that many seniors rely on to stay stable. When mango is eaten frequently, particularly in dried form, it can slowly distort your internal balance without you even realizing. Dr. Caldwell tells the story of Mr. Clarence Doyle, 83, a retired fire chief from Nevada. Clarence had switched from afternoon cookies to dried mango slices, thinking he was doing something better for his body. He was also taking metoprolol for blood pressure and amiodarone for heart rhythm. For weeks, he felt lightheaded in the mornings. Then one day, he collapsed while standing from bed. At the hospital, tests revealed a small ischemic stroke. But his blood pressure wasn't just low, it was dangerously unstable. His medication levels were far higher than expected, despite taking the correct dose. The dried mango, consumed daily, had slowed his liver's ability to process those drugs. Combined with sudden sugar spikes, his system had tipped and a clot had formed. This is what makes mango one of the most dangerous foods seniors may be consuming without question, because it doesn't just deliver sugar. It tampers with the very mechanism that controls medication safety. And the aging liver, already working at reduced capacity, can't afford to be slowed further. So, what's the elderly diet advice here? If you love mango, limit it strictly. A few bites, only during the day. Never before bed. Never in dried form. Always pair it with a healthy fat or protein to slow the sugar rush. And if you're on any prescription medications, especially for the heart, consult your doctor before including it in your diet at all. Because at this stage of life, senior stroke prevention isn't just about avoiding salt or fat. It's about understanding how every bite, every fruit, every healthy habit interacts with your unique body. This is elderly wisdom in its highest form. Not panic, not deprivation, but knowledge. The kind of knowledge that allows you to stay alert, stay strong, and stay yourself. And now that you've heard the full truth about these 9 fruits, let's bring everything together and reflect on how we move forward toward strength, clarity, and a future fueled by intention. Shall I continue with the final reflection and call to action? Final reflection. Eating with wisdom, living with intention. After hearing the truth behind 9 fruits that many seniors once trusted, and learning how they may quietly raise the risk of stroke, memory loss, or even a brain bleed, it's natural to feel unsettled, maybe even betrayed. You've spent your life believing fruit was always safe, that nature never needed questioning. But But here's the truth that Dr. Henry Caldwell shares with every patient who walks into his clinic. After 60, aging changes everything. Your kidneys slow. Your liver filters less efficiently. Your blood vessels become more delicate. And your brain, the most sensitive, most fragile organ of all, responds to sugar spikes, dehydration, and medication interactions in ways it never used to. The result? What once kept you strong can now quietly, invisibly, make you vulnerable. This is where elderly wisdom becomes the most powerful tool you have, because wisdom doesn't mean giving up. It means adapting. It means knowing how to nourish your body, not as it once was, but as it is now. And it means understanding that every bite you take, every snack you choose, either supports your strength or silently weakens it. So what can you eat with confidence? Dr. Caldwell recommends a small set of brain health seniors-friendly foods that support clarity, memory, and circulation. Berries like blueberries and raspberries, low in sugar, rich in antioxidants, protective of your blood vessels. Granny Smith apples, lower in sugar, higher in protective polyphenols, especially when eaten with a bit of cheese or nut butter. Avocados, a fruit often forgotten, but rich in healthy fats that regulate blood pressure and support nerve health. Lemons and limes, not as snacks, but as flavor. They aid digestion and liver function without spiking sugar or interfering with medication. Pomegranate in moderation. If you enjoy the juice, water it down and sip slowly. A little goes a long way, and here's the most important advice of all. Timing matters. Never eat fruit right before bed. Your body is slowing down. Circulation dips. Your medications are still active. A sugar or acid spike at night can create the perfect storm. One you might not feel until it's too late. Always pair fruit with protein or healthy fat. And always ask your doctor before making anything a daily ritual, especially if you're on medication. You're not fragile, but you are different. That's not a weakness. It's the strength of awareness. The clarity to say, I've made it this far, and now I'm going to live not just longer, but wiser. Because this isn't just about fruit. It's about protecting the one thing that holds your memories, your laughter, your balance, your voice, your brain. If this video moved you, if it brought insight, peace, or even a sense of urgency, please take one step further. Like this video. Share it with someone you care about. Subscribe to the channel. And turn on the notification bell so you never miss a message that could protect your future. And in the comments below, share one change you're making after hearing this. Because together, we're building a life of purpose fed by intention, guided by wisdom, and grounded in the truth that age is not a weakness. It's a powerful teacher. Let's stay informed. Let's stay strong. And most of all, let's stay sharp. This is your time. Feed it the future you deserve.